अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta, and as you can see from this hafta onwards, you will see some of us for some of the time on video. In fact, all of us. Patricia, our panelist, is not in Delhi, but we shall just get to that a little later. But before we get into introducing the panel team and the headlines, just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope you guys have a New Year resolution to support independent media and pay to keep news free. So Manisha is on leave, as you may have been aware that she got married. So she got that break she was asking for the longest time. Raman sir finally gave her that. She shall be back next week and she shall be hosting Nuisance. So on the panel this week, we have Raman Kripal.
Hi.
We have Mehraj Lone.
Hello.
And joining us is Patricia. Patricia Mukhim, as many of you know, because she has been a part of Hafta before and has been part of many of our other panel discussions as well. So let me introduce Patricia Mukhim to you. She's a writer and journalist and the editor of Shillong Times. She is well known for social activism and writing on mining and the Khasi people in the state. She has been a member of the National Security Advisory Board in the past. And she is the recipient of the Chameli Devi Jain Award, the Upendranath Brahma Soldier of Humanity Award, and the Northeast Excellence Award. In 2000, she was honored with the Padma Shri. So, Patricia, congratulations. Do I have to call you Padma Shri Patricia Mukhim?
No.
So, before we get into the headlines and we want to discuss 2 or 3 major things, especially what happened regarding Bodoland, recently you really had hit out the Editors Guild, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that. What exactly had happened? You can just tell up. I mean, although most of us are aware, but some of our listeners may not be aware. What had happened? Why did the action against you happen? And what was your disappointment?
See, on the 3rd of July this year, some young boys who had come home from different places, they are non-tribal boys, they got beaten up because they went to play basketball in a particular tribal dominated area.
And this is where? Which city was this?
In Shillong,
Okay,
in Shillong. Yeah, in my city. And this place has been known for communal tension since 1979. We've had, we've had these killings, we've had petrol bomb throwing, we've had acid thrown on girls' faces and all that. And none of the perpetrators have ever been arrested. So, for some of us who have seen all that happening, we can't just leave history behind. I keep reminding this to readers all the time. And on the 4th of July, I put out this Facebook post saying, why is it that the government of Meghalaya and the police, and I actually tagged the Chief Minister saying, why is it that those who perpetrate such acts, some of them heinous acts, and these boys were beaten up with rods, some of them had head injuries. The basketball court was locked from outside, and then these people who went and beat them up ensured that they could not run away, but some of them managed somehow to climb over the wall. So I put out this Facebook post saying, why is it that the perpetrators are never arrested? Not a single person. Forget about conviction. And conviction rates in Meghalaya are maybe lower than even 4%. So I questioned the Chief Minister, I questioned the DG police, and I questioned the local authorities of that area, saying that they should be knowing who the troublemakers are in the area, and they should be reporting that to the police. So that local authority took umbrage and went and filed an FIR in the police station. And then my lawyer said, this is not done, so he tried to get that FIR dropped or cancelled or whatever. Yeah. But the High Court said, no, we find that there's a case here because this lady is trying to create communal tension. So I find that rather strange. Anyway, now the case is going to the Supreme Court, filing a special leave petition.
And were you arrested?
No, I have not been arrested. I've been questioned.
Okay, so I mean, technically it's not an arrest, but the police came and questioned you.
Yeah.
And the Editors Guild did not put out any sort of statement.
Yes, and then I brought this to the notice of the Editors Guild because I'm a member, And because they were so prompt in issuing, a statement for Arnab Goswami,
Hmm.
despite the fact that he wasn't arrested for anything related to media or
Or
journalism
journalism.
or anything.
Hmm.
But in my case, they just didn't stir. So I felt very slighted, and I thought, what is the point in being part of an association that doesn't care for its members? And I'm not asking undue favors. This is something that the media should be taking up, because we are standing up for human rights, for goodness sake. We are not standing for this community or that community. That has been my principle. So I resigned, but after my resignation, I saw that they did give, a
Statement,
statement.
right. So one question, the initial incident that happened, were the kids who went to play, were they beaten up because of their ethnicity or because of religion? Or is it a linguistic friction? Is it a
It's
religious
a, it's a,
friction?
it's ethnicity.
Oh, I see.
It's ethnicity. They're Bengali boys,
Okay.
and in 1979 there was this movement to just chase out all the Bengalis from Meghalaya. So a lot of people left, especially good people, lawyers and doctors, felt that they needed to live with some amount of dignity. They moved out. And of course, now the riffraff are all here. Uh, and nobody has really taken a stand on this. And I find this very troubling. The non-tribal community here will not speak up because
They're
they're
scared.
afraid
They're
of
afraid.
the repercussions. In fact, one of the boys who got beaten up, who had a head injury, somebody went and filed an FIR on his behalf. And then, the media also took up this story. And this gentleman said, why are you doing all this? It'll be very difficult for us to live here now.
Is your ethnicity or lineage also tribal or non-tribal?
Tribal.
You're tribal.
I'm a
So
Khasi.
you're a Khasi.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a local tribal, yeah.
but do you face pushback from your community for like?
Of course,
do.
of course, of course. In April 2018, I don't know if you recall, but I had a petrol bomb thrown at my
Yes,
house.
I remember that. In fact, I think we discussed that also on this show only, on the Hafta, if I'm not wrong.
Just before we move on, I just wanted to ask you, has the guild reached out to you since your resignation? Have they said come back, don't resign?
Some members individually have asked me to reconsider my resignation, and all that, but not the office bearers. They didn't reach out.
They have accepted your resignation though.
They didn't say that they've accepted it or not. I mean, there was just no communication from them.
It's basically like an RTI. So, Patricia, I just want to discuss this a little bit with you because this was in the headlines for just about a day or so. The headline is in Assam's Bodoland, a new peace accord propelled a new party to power. After 17 years, Hangrama Mohilari will no longer be the chief of Bodoland Territorial Council. The Autonomous Council was created in 2003 after a peace accord between the government and a section of the Bodo group fighting for a separate state. Mohilari, then the leader of the armed group, the Bodo Liberation Tigers, was the face of the accord. Since then, he and his People's Front, the party that grew out of the armed group, have kept a firm grip in the 4 districts of Assam covered by the Territorial Council. Now there is a peace accord and a new chief, Pramod Boro, who formerly headed the All Bodo Students' Union. Now, this was a major headline for about a day and a half. Can you tell me the significance of what actually happened there and why it's important?
It's important because, you see, Hagrama was a rebel. He was an insurgent. He came over ground. He was not even given enough time to return to civil society. You've been in the jungles for so long. Psychologically, you're tuned to a kind of living where might is right. And this was what I wrote in the Assam Tribune for today, saying that, there must be a cooling off period for people to integrate themselves into mainstream society, but that didn't happen. He came in 2003, 2005, I think the 2003, yes, 2003, the Bodoland Territorial Council was formed. It was part of the peace accord, the Bodo Peace Accord. And I have been traveling widely in Bodoland, written a lot of articles, especially because, as I said, Hagrama treated the BTC as a sort of a jagir, as a fiefdom.
BDC being the Bodoland Territorial Council. Just for
Yeah.
the people
So
who are not
because of
familiar with
that,
it.
he actually filed a defamation case against me, which is still lying in the Guwahati Metropolitan Court.
I see. But now he is. So what you're saying is that he had pretty much taken over the council, and now we are seeing a change. What are we seeing exactly?
Yes. So the change is that Pramod Boro, who's been for the longest time a peace activist, he doesn't believe in violence. Even he's been provoked a lot, but has not responded with violence. He has now become the chairman of he's become the chief executive member of the BTC. And because I have been a fellow traveler with Pramod for a long time, we've worked together on many issues, especially on issues of peace building. So one hopes that Bodoland will see not just a negative peace, but a progressive peace where things will happen, where institutions will be built up, created for the people of Bodoland because they've been a neglected lot. We have to remember that they are the indigenous people of the Assam. They are the first settlers of Assam, but they've lost out culturally to the dominant Assamese population.
Right.
So that has always been a very sore point for the Bodo people.
So, President, in your view, Pramod Boro taking over as the most important part of the council will lead to, in your view, a better representation of the Bodo people and the kind of rights that they were promised, that they'll have some autonomous powers within the state. You think that's the case?
Yes, because I think in the past people voted out of fear. There was this real fear of the gun culture because despite having come over ground, the guns were not silent, And if you go to Kokrajhar which is the capital of the BTC, there is a ground where 3,000 martyrs are, remembered. It's a memorial ground. About 3,000 people had lost their lives to this struggle for a separate state of Bodoland, which of course never happened. But if you ask me, then the BTC is quite a powerful body. It's a state within a state. It's much more powerful than the other autonomous district councils in the other states, like in Meghalaya or wherever. In some groups in Assam, some tribal areas of Assam also have the ADCs, autonomous district councils, but Bodoland has this. It's more like a territorial council, and it's quite powerful, and it gets its funding directly from the center, which other ADCs don't.
And basically, the autonomous power that they have is that there's this, a strip of area in probably the northwestern part of Assam, and they have when they say that they have an autonomous kind of powers over there, when it comes to what civil works, governance, or like panchayat level or block level, what kind of powers do they actually enjoy practically?
No, they have complete authority over that area, which is designated as the Bodoland Territorial Administrative whatever, BTAD. It's called Bodoland Territorial Administrative.
I'll just check on that. But that this still comes under the state, right? So what in practical terms, in daily governance terms, what power do they actually enjoy?
No, so the powers are very well separated. I think a lot of the infrastructure building, the money for that comes from the center directly, as promised in the Bodo Accord. The other things like roads and other normal infrastructure is looked after by the state government. So it's like that. It's a very clear.
That's, I guess, the state.
Policing is the state. Policing is the state.
So, you have been watching this issue forever. So, on the ground, how is the sentiment for Bodoland now? Is there still a sort of a statehood sentiment among the people, or that has sort of waned?
See, this has been a demand for a long time, but I think that people have now, I think they've now accepted that that's not a possible proposition. Because now this Pramod Boro's party, the UPPL, is working in tandem with the BJP. So obviously there's some kind of understanding that this will carry on, the BTC model, not the that giving another state, carving out another state is not a viable proposition. Also because the Bodos are not, I think, they're only about 32% of the population of Assam.
So how is this new peace accord, different from the previous one?
I haven't seen the new peace accord. I haven't seen it.
Okay. So there is the Bodoland Territorial Area Districts. That's what BTD-AD
Yeah,
stands for.
district. Yes.
Now, before we move on to the next subject, we want to say bye to our video viewers. Now it's going to be an audio podcast only. You only
Hello.
get 20 minutes of videos. So goodbye. I hope you
Oh,
saw.
I was supposed to say bye. I said hello. Bye bye.
I hope our masked faces were worth your time. You can just plug in your earphones and listen to the rest of the podcast. And since now Hafta is going behind the paywall, pay to keep news free to get access to all our content, unedited, uncut. And for that, you're going to have to pay to keep news free because we don't take any advertisements. So do subscribe. Go to newslearning.com, click on the subscribe button and pay to keep news free and get all uncut, full access to Hafta and all other podcasts. And we have a fantastic new podcast. Let's talk about big data, and you will love it. So do check that out as well.